Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our class today. I was just mentioning this is kind of a follow-up to the Construction Summit series that we're doing once a month on strictly construction. But Ben Friedman was on the panel last week, and this is his follow-up. So, yes, good morning, everyone. I am Peggy West. I'm your organizer, disorganizer, and reorganizer. How's that? I'm pretty wound up today. I'm really happy to be here. But anyway, it's a beautiful morning in Florida. I hope it is all over the state. And welcome board members and CAMs. I want to thank you all for joining today. I want to thank all of my sponsors, and especially Ben Friedman and Siobhan. Siobhan's our moderator for today. Let's talk about some housekeeping. CAMs, you do get a credit, but please allow about 10 days to get your credits posted with the DVPR. That has to be downloaded and posted. If you have a question, put it into the Q&A. Forget the word chat. No more chatting, okay? Good morning, everybody in chat. I see you all there. But let's put it into Q&A because we do record all of your questions. And please, give Ben as many questions as you can. And if he doesn't get to your question, the recording will be sent to him, and he will follow up with a question. If you have a question for one of the sponsors that's going to introduce themselves, go on and put that into the Q&A, and they also get a copy, and they can also answer the questions. I just want to mention again, I said it earlier, if anyone wants to invite a fellow board member from a different association, this is open to all board members all over the state of Florida. Ooh, my dog. Sorry about that. So let's get ready to introduce the sponsors. I'm going to start with the ones that are actually on today. I'm going to start with PD Concrete Specialist. We've got Dylan Pena on today. Dylan, tell us about yourself and the company.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Peggy. My name is Dylan Pena. I'm the business developer for PD Concrete Specialist. We've been serving South Florida for well over 20 years now. Most importantly, though, we specialize in concrete restoration, waterproofing, and post-tension cable repair. We also assist with the 40, 50, 60-year recertification process to ensure your building stays compliant and safe. One thing that does set us apart, though, is that we do not use subcontractors. We only use our in-house team to ensure accountability and quality work for every step of the way. We operate out of 2 locations, with one in Aventura and one in West Palm Beach. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me with the information I'll be leaving in the chat box below. Thank you very much, Peggy.
Hey,
you're also muted. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Next, I want to introduce Daniel Baum. He is the founder and CEO of COA Solutions. Daniel, tell us about yourself.
Thanks, Peggy. Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm on the road today, so sorry if it's a little noisy. As Peggy mentioned, I own COA Solutions of Florida. We specialize in commercial property and casualty insurance. And the only thing I want to say about today is you're going to have a great presentation from Ben and Siobhan. I know they do a phenomenal job. And one thing to keep in mind is you should certainly evaluate, especially in a condominium, if you don't have hurricane windows or shutters on your property, you definitely want to evaluate the cost of doing that, because it could save you from 30 to as much as 50% off of your property insurance coverage. And the key with that is when you do that evaluation, don't just think about it over the course of 1 year. Every year thereafter, your insurance, if it were to go up, will only go up from that lower amount. So you're not just getting the savings of 1 year, you're getting a compounded savings year over year over year off of your insurance by having hurricane windows and doors. So when you listen to Ben's presentation today, you definitely want to think about, is this something that we should analyze as a community to replace all of our windows and doors, not only for the benefit and the life-saving qualities and the sound quality that you get, but also the financial savings that you will get off of your property insurance over the course of the next several years that you wouldn't get otherwise. So something to think about that you might not have been thinking about windows and doors. One other point on the windows and door front, with the insurance savings, you only get that benefit if every single opening is protected. So you can't just pick and choose. A couple of units have it, a couple of units don't. The entire envelope of the building has to be protected in order to get those wind credits and that savings. So just to make that clear, thank you very much for having me, Peggy. As always, if you guys have any questions, I'm sorry I won't be able to stay on the presentation today, but please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the insurance side for you privately. Thanks a lot, and have a wonderful webinar.
Drive safe. Thank you so much for getting on. Next, she's been patiently waiting. I'm going to have Shelly Rovner introduce herself from Munyon. Shelly, what's going on with your company and how are you doing?
Well, thank you very much, Peggy. I'm doing wonderful, and I hope everybody else is as well. Like Peggy said, my name is Shelly Rovner. I am the project manager and marketing and developer for Munyon Restoration and Painting. We are 75 years in business. We serve the entire state of Florida. Our specialties are high-rise, condo, HOA. We are also a general contractor, so we can do concrete restoration, wood repairs, stucco repairs. We do it all. And we also do electrostatic painting, which is on metal surfaces. So if anybody has any questions at all whatsoever, I will leave my information in the chat as well, which I'm sure Peggy also will provide it, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you guys have. Have a wonderful webinar. Thank you, Peggy.
Okay, thank you, Shelly. And that is a tremendous savings in having to go through and on that electrostatic railing. I used to be in that business a little bit, and to grind all that off, the old paint, and then resurface it, rough it up, and make it where the new paint sticks is a bad way to go. Go with the electrostatic repainting, and they're the ones that are the experts. So call on Shelly. Next, you're welcome. Next, I want to introduce Cameron Andres from Best Roofing. He's on today. Cameron, hello, and good morning. And what's going on at Best Roofing?
Hello, good morning. My name is Cameron Andres. I do business development for Best Roofing. We're a commercial roofing contractor based here in Fort Lauderdale, but servicing all the way up north to Stewart, all the way south to the upper Florida Keys. And we're here to help you with anything roofing related. We do re-roofs, repairs, recoveries, preventative maintenance plans for both flat and sloped roofing, both commercial as well as single family home residential. We do also offer complimentary roof audits. So if you are looking to have a roof job done in the near future, we'd be happy to get out there for you, take a look around, give you the cost estimate for any immediate repairs that need to be done, as well as what a re-roof estimate might cost and the life expectancy of your current roofing system. So happy to help with whatever you guys might need. Thank you so much for being here, and enjoy the class from Ben.
Okay, thank you so much, and please give our best to Diana. All right, thank you. All right, so we have a few that are not on, but before I go to them, I also want to give Vinteum Software a chance to introduce herself. Today we have Laura on from the sales department, but I want to say thank you, Julia, for being the wind beneath my wings and support and so on. Laura, tell us about what you're doing for communities.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. Thank you very much for having me today here. I am the sales executive at Vinteum. So here at Vinteum, what we basically do is to help communities as HOAs, condominiums, but also property management companies, property managers to have their website and most important, the residence portal, which I know nowadays is incredibly, crucial for pretty much almost all communities within the state of Florida. We take in charge of creating and then also putting everything together for you, not only the website, but also the portal. We provide training for all the board members. Also, if needed, your property manager. We make sure you comply to everything from documents to meeting recordings to e-voting if any of you is looking for it. So if any of you wanting to invest in a portal, in a website, or maybe the current provider that you have in it's a little bit more complex than what you guys would prefer, We're here to help. I'll be sending you over all my information so you guys can contact us to build a website, to edit the website, and to customize the portal. It's incredibly easy with our software and platform. So please reach us. We will take we will make sure that we help you guys with everything, and also that we provide you with the right support and training if needed. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, websites. You all need them, and it's a great place to go to store all your documents. You have to keep those minutes now forever. So just, get a price. They are very affordable, very reasonable, and they service you at any time. They'll take a board member one at a time. They'll take a group at a time. They'll help with the residents. The word is Vinteum. How's that?
Thank you.
All right, let me mention these other sponsors because they are very important. They do invite all of you or some of you to come today. We have Hafer Companies CPA Service. Hafer has been in business for a long time, over 15 years, with 4 offices around the state. You would contact Nicole Johnson. She'll be on the sponsor sheet. Also, Velocity Services Group. Velocity is a large loss restoration company based out of Texas, but they're actually national. They have an office in Tampa, and they're moving to East Florida, hopefully in the Palm Beach area here shortly, and they will be here if you need them. Also, Rick Hogan is the contact. We also have Kaiser Air Conditioning. They are mostly in the east side of the state in Florida, Tri-County, and they have a couple of offices to work from. Paolo Weston is the owner and contact there. We also have Clarkson and Varick. These are elevator consultants. If you have a problem with your elevator, you might want to take a look at using a consultant to help you make your choices rather than just going direct to the elevator company. Although one of my sponsors is Southwest Elevator, and they have been around for a long time, so they also give great advice. Clarkson and Varick, the contact there is Damaris Cabrera, and Damaris has been around for a long time in the industry. She'll be on the sponsor sheet. Contact Brooke or Brandy Cavender for Southwest Elevator. And lastly, I want to mention the Paving Lady. Paving Lady has been around for over 30 years. Don Miller is the contact. The owner is Mauro Camuzzi. He bought the Paving Lady, who was around for 20 years also before that. Very long time in the business, a lot of experience. So with that, I want to move into introducing a longtime friend. She is the moderator for today. I'm going to introduce Siobhan Gonzalez. She is the key contact now for United Professional Engineering. Tell us about yourself, and then I'll let you go on and introduce our speaker.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Siobhan Gonzalez. I am the Manager of Business Development and Client Relations here at United Professional Engineering. We are a full-service structural engineering firm. We've been in business serving South Florida condominiums for over 20 years. So our entire team is trained, experienced for condominiums, all things milestone, phase 1, phase 2, your building recertifications, concrete restoration and repair. Set apart, we do oversee the project start to finish for all of our projects. That's standard built into our engineering services. If you're having an issue at your association, you're not sure if you need an engineer, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help. So that's a little bit about us and what we do. I'm really looking forward to this webinar. I'm grateful for the opportunity to introduce Ben. Ben Friedman is the president and owner of CitiQuiet Windows and Doors. Their main headquarters is in Boca. They do serve Tri-County on the east side, as well as Fort Myers and Naples on the west coast. So Ben has been in the industry, a leader for associations and experts. So I'm really looking forward to today's webinar. Ben, we leave it up to you. Take it away.
Well, thank you. That was so lovely. I appreciate the intro. I appreciate Peggy, the quarterback here, for these wonderful webinars that she coordinates and gets all of you wonderful board members and property managers to attend. So thank you for including me on all things Peggy. Um, so my name, as Siobhan mentioned, is Ben Friedman. I am the president and owner of CitiQuiet Windows and Doors. We provide turnkey white glove installation for all window, storefront, railing, and door projects. We are headquartered here in Boca Raton with an office in North Miami, Fort Myers, and Naples. We do service the entire state, and we do work nationally if and when it makes sense for the end user. So, although we have an office in Fort Myers and Naples, we're working on a very large condominium association located in Longboat Key, which is outside the Tampa area, Sarasota. So, needless to say, we get around. We do a really good job at what we do, and that's why clients are willing to have us come and potentially spend a little bit more money because, we're displaced to have the right project done the first time. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen, and then I have one or two housekeeping items here for Siobhan. So housekeeping items for me, I could talk forever. Siobhan will tell you that, Peggy will tell you that, but I don't really enjoy just sitting here and going through the slides and reading them to you. I like it to be more interactive. So please ask all the questions you want in the Q&A. And Siobhan and I have agreed to take a few breaks here and there and answer them as we go. I want everyone to understand this is a 1-hour HR credit for community association managers. It will take about a week to have your credits shown in the DBPR website. So give us a little bit of time. If you don't get them, reach out. My info's in the chat. You'll get it later. And the last thing I want to also suggest before I start here is that this course specifically, as it relates to safety and HR and human resources, it can be used for any project in your building. It can be used for your concrete restoration projects like we all know are going on, roofing, painting, stucco, interior projects, right? At the end of the day, the point of the presentation here is to educate board members, property managers, and sometimes even residents on how a community can go above and beyond to maintain a safe work environment for the residents while a project is going on at their community. So I'm going to take it away here. Again, my name is Ben Friedman. I'm the instructor, president and owner of CitiQuiet Windows and Doors. We've been here in South Florida since 2006, centrally located in Boca Raton. Grew the business to the North Miami, Fort Myers, Naples area. What sets us apart from other people? We're really good at what we do. And one of the big things, which is why we're all here today, is we provide a high level of education. So we want to educate the end users, the boards, so that when the time comes for them to make a decision that's going to impact the community, we want them to be educated and know that we did everything possible to allow them to make the most educated decision that they can. So a brief introduction to our class here. The objective of this course is to provide community association managers with the knowledge and tools necessary to ensure safe installation practices. We're going to cover safety regulations, risk management strategies, and best practices for overseeing installation projects. We're going to specifically focus on safety considerations for impact windows and doors. What does a property need to do to prepare for a window and door or a roofing or a painting project? It's not just show up. There is a setup involved and there's a process. And if you're not prepared for it and a group of contractors show up on your job site and it becomes a circus act, there are going to be accidents that are going to happen. So a proper plan in place from the very beginning is very important. Ensuring resident safety. We want to make sure that residents are safe during the work that we or any contractor is doing at your property. I say this all the time. Residents are very curious They're spending money, whether it's through a special assessment or through a reserve, but they're very curious what's going on, and they want to see it, and they want to touch it, and they want to be a part of it. That's fine. But how can we together as a team, the contractor and the association's representative, protect those work areas and that high traffic area that we're working in from these residents that always want to be curious and see what's going on? We'll go through regulatory compliance. We have to adhere to Florida safety regulations and building codes to prevent legal issues and fines. I'm sure everybody's heard of OSHA. I'm sure everybody's seen a ladder leaning up on the side of their building instead of it being opened up like it properly should be. Well, what happens is when OSHA decides that they want to come conduct an inspection and sees a ladder leaning up on the side of a building instead of open properly and locked in place, they're going to slap that contractor with a minimum of a $10,000 fine. As silly as that sounds. So there's regulatory compliance that we need to do to ensure the safety of our technicians and our workman's compensation. Protection of property. The correct installation of impact windows and doors protects the building from storm damage, enhancing the overall resilience of the property. So now, if the windows and doors are installed properly, if the roof is installed properly, right, then the building is going to become a safe place in the event of a major catastrophe. It's not as simple as taking a window and putting it in the hole and screwing it down. There is site-specific requirements and site-specific engineering that need to be done before a window goes into a hole. It is not going to Home Depot and buying a window and putting it in your bathroom because that's what's going to make you and your insurance company happy. It's not. There's a lot more detail involved in it than just simply that. Lastly, we want to build community trust. By demonstrating a commitment to safety, builds the trust with the residents and enhances the reputation of the community association. Wouldn't it be nice to build the trust of the association and its residents through town hall meetings before a project commences, during a project, and then after, so that they can feel comfortable of who is invading their territory, which is their home. So, Florida safety regulations and building codes. We have two different things that we look at from a window and door installer standpoint. We have the FBC, which is known as the Florida Building Code. Okay, that's designed to ensure that all buildings, and I say all buildings in the state are safe, accessible, and energy efficient. It includes specific requirements for material design and construction to withstand Florida's unique climate challenges, such as hurricanes. The FBC is a very broad building code. It can be used for those of you that are viewing this from Jacksonville, from Orlando, and it can also be used for those of you that are here from Miami and south of Miami in the Keys. It's very, very broad. The other thing that we look at is we look at the Miami-Dade product approval or the Miami-Dade building code approval process. A bit more stringent than the Florida building code. So what you'll see is when it comes to impact windows and doors, an impact window and door must have a certification in order for the building department to recognize it when the contractor submits a permit package. It's either going to have an FBC certification or it's going to have a Miami-Dade certification known as an NOA, a Notice of Acceptance. The Notice of Acceptance has a bit more tighter testing requirements than the traditional FBC approval. Now that said, the FBC approval process also has a kicker on it, in which is called the HVHZ, High Velocity Hurricane Zone approval, which can piggyback onto the traditional Florida Building Code approval. With an HVHZ certification on a Florida Building Code approval is a direct mirror image to a Miami-Dade NOA. Follow that. If you have an FBC certified window or door with HVHZ as well, it is no different than a Miami-Dade NOA. So we get the question a lot of, a proposal is sent to a client, we explain it, and they say, oh, does that product have an NOA? Well, some do. But when the answer is no, and the client says, we want something with an NOA, the question that we ask is why? Well, because an NOA is this Rolls Royce of certification. But what they forget is that if an FBC approval has an HVHZ attachment to it, it is the same as the other NOA. Why do manufacturers, which we're not, we're installers, why do manufacturers choose to certify their product with one versus the other? The time it takes to get an FBC product approval is much quicker. The cost is much less. Miami-Dade takes a whole bunch longer amount of time and costs a manufacturer a lot more money. So understand products, when comparing them side by side, there are certain things to look out for. These types of windows and doors, obviously, they must be able to withstand high winds and flying debris, reducing the risk of injury and property damage during storms. So an impact window and door, for all of you that can relate to the front windshield of a car, is the same thing. The front windshield of a car has laminated glass, which is two pieces of glass with a laminate or a film in the middle that gets heated up and creates one unit of glass. That is what impact glass is. So when you're driving on I-95 and debris hits your windshield and it cracks and it spider webs, the rain can start pouring, you can use your windshield wipers, and no water ever comes inside your car. That is what impact glass is designed to do. It's designed to have the projectile or the object bounce off of the glass to stay intact, and for no water or pressure to intrude into the property. As far as compliance and documentation requirements, builders and contractors must obtain permits from local building departments before installing impact windows and doors. The permit process ensures that the installation meets all safety and performance standards outlined in the Florida Building Code or the Miami-Dade Product Control. Homeowners undertaking renovations, they must also comply with these regulations to avoid increased insurance rates and ensure their properties are protected. A homeowner cannot just go and replace their windows on their own. They can if they get a permit to do so. If code compliance is driving around your neighborhood or they're there for an inspection in your building for work unrelated to a window and door project and see window and door work happening, they can easily shut the project down if there is no permit, red tag your property, and tell you that you can no longer do that work until a permit is pulled for that specific scope of work. So Siobhan, this may be a good time to clear up anything that some of our attendees may have questions on.
Yes, I agree. And there is actually one question on here that I feel like correlates. You might have already answered it. It says, do all impact windows meet the approved code?
Do all impact windows meet the approved code? So I'm going to answer this, and I hope that this answers the question. Impact windows and doors have certifications on them that run out after a certain period of time, whereby the manufacturer needs to go back to the building departments or the Florida Building Code and recertify their product. So if you go on the Florida Building Code website or the Miami-Dade Product Control website and you look up a product by, XYZ Window, whose manufacturer is in Virginia, it'll tell you if that product approval is active, expired, or in review. So on the bottom, and I wish I had one here because that's a pretty cool question. But on the bottom of every what we call NOA or product approval or certification, it will say the date that it was approved and the date that it expires. When it expires, it's a simple revision. So the building code, the Florida building code, changes every 3 years. The code becomes more and more stringent. So the answer to the question is, if you have an approved impact window or door system currently, then you can use it because it's active and it's currently approved. If you would like to use a current active product approval, and in 4 years from now, because you bought the windows today, but you ran out of money and you can't do the project for 4 or 5 years from now, that product approval may not be active and it may have expired in 4 or 5 years from now. So I hope that helps clear it up.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for that. And another quick question. Do these same standards apply to single family homes and townhomes?
1,000%.
Awesome. Very good. One more question here. How will threshold inspections add to cost, time, and permitting to window and door installation?
Great question. I love it. I love a threshold inspector. We also call them SIs, special inspectors, because it allows a window and door project specifically to function in the most efficient manner. So if you think about the process of an impact window and door installation, you have the demolition of the window, you have the prep of the opening, then you have what we call the bucking, which is a piece of pressure treated lumber that gets attached to the concrete or the substrate, right? Let's say. And that needs to be inspected because there's screws before the window goes in, because then you'll never be able to see those screws. And then you need an inspection on the screws holding the window into the substrate. And then a cover goes over those screws so that it's a clean finished look. So then you'll need an inspection after that. Now, if I call the building department today for an inspection tomorrow, they're going to tell me that they're going to be there between 9 and 5. So if I remove a window at 8:30 in the morning and I need a bucking inspection, or what they call a in progress inspection before I can put my window in, they show up at 4 o'clock. The building tells me that the rules and regulations of the building are that we need to be out of the property by 4:30. That allows me no time to install my window. So we have to put plywood in the opening overnight. Nobody wants that. So by having a special inspector or a threshold inspector that the association is paying a fee to a company similar to or Siobhan's company, it allows them to put a babysitter on site, either at all times, at some times, or randomly throughout the project to conduct the inspections instead of calling the city daily. Okay? What they do is they keep a logbook on site with all of the inspections that they've conducted, and then they do the final inspection, and we submit that logbook and final inspection closeout letter to the city to close the permit out. So if Siobhan's company is the special inspector, there's a really good chance that they're going to have someone on site to see this stuff as it goes in. Or they're going to develop a level of confidence in the contractor to say, we're going to be there 3 days a week. The 2 days that we're not, we need you to document it with photos so that we can inspect your photos. And you've developed a level of confidence in the engineer or the threshold inspector to expedite the process of the window and door project. When it comes to cost, Siobhan can speak to you probably offline about how they tailor their pricing for special inspectors or threshold inspectors. So I won't speak on cost, but I will speak on that it is beneficial for the association to spend the money and having a special inspector, threshold inspector as part of a window and door project.
Well said, Ben. I agree. Yeah, and it's that comparison where it's like cost versus value, and it's like invaluable, right? So, yeah, those are great questions so far, everyone. Let's see. I think this is a good place to go ahead and continue. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now let's identify some safety risks. Common safety hazards during installation. This is for, the contractor themselves. The manual handling and lifting, right? Installing impact windows and doors often involves heavy lifting, which can lead to injury. These windows and doors are extremely heavy. Why? Because they have double or triple pane glass in them with different structural reinforcements in the frame to ensure that they withstand high velocity or high wind speed or major disaster. So they're heavy, right? The other thing is that they're glass. So what can happen? You can get cut very simply if you do not handle the glass properly. The windows and doors, the majority of them are metal. They're made out of aluminum. They come out of the opening. Sometimes they have to be cut because we have to cut them out or pry them out. The metal is sharp. It's rusty. These are the types of accidents that can happen. We're working on the exterior of a building because nobody wants us inside the building, right? So we're working on the exterior of the building. God forbid, workers can fall. There's a risk of working on a swing stage or a mast climber or on a crane. So even a simple ladder, you can fall off of a ladder or a scaffolding. These are the types of common safety risks for us. How do we assess those risks? We identify potential hazards, right? So we regularly inspect the work site to identify potential hazards, such as unstable ladders, sharp objects, and heavy loads. There's no reason to have we have mechanics and we have laborers and then we have helpers. So there's no reason that a helper has to be a hero and carry, a bag of debris, garbage on one shoulder and then on the other shoulder, carry, an old window with sharp glass on it, right? So it's really being more systematic on, hey, technicians, there's a better way to do this. I know you want to get out of here quick and punch your card and go home and come back tomorrow, but I'd rather you do it in a safe manner. We do job safety analysis. So we conduct a detailed analysis of each step in the installation process to identify risk and implement control measures. Daily safety meetings on the job site. Contractor shows up, superintendent or foreman are there. You as a property manager, if you're not there that early, or you as a resident who's curious, you should see a huddle similar to a football game in the morning before a project starts to get everybody pumped up about the day, to get everybody on the same page, and to make sure that they have all of their proper PPE equipment, which ensures that all workers are equipped with appropriate personal protective equipment. Example, in my world, gloves, safety goggles, harnesses, rope grabs, hard hats, closed-toe shoes, long pants. Simple things like that are going to reduce the risk of an accident. I can't tell you how many projects I've gone to where, we've been asked to come in as an expert or to review something. And, the contractors, workers are there in Nike, sneakers, basketball sneakers, because they look cool. With the laces open, not even tied. I mean, that's unacceptable. right? So you're making sure as the association that the contractor has gone through the risk assessment techniques to make sure that the contractor working on your property is going to work as safe as possible for themselves and for the people in the community. Best practices for installation safety. Part 1, pre-installation safety checks. Some of this stuff is repetitive, so we'll run through it. Ensuring proper permits and approvals. Can't work without a permit. Can't work without a notice of commencement. Should be posted on the face of the building so that when code compliance or an inspector drives by, they clearly see that there's work going on at the building and they don't become more curious. Permits protect you guys as well. So, for those of you that, want to change 3 windows and a door in your 2-bedroom condo and say, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a permit, bad answer. It protects you. It puts it on file with the city, with the state, that there's work going on. God forbid anything happens. Pre-installation safety, we inspect the worksite, conduct a thorough inspection of the worksite to identify and address any potential hazards. Go through the equipment. Look at the extension cords. Are the wires frayed? Are they duct tape or electrical tape together because a contractor needs a longer one and they were too lazy to go to Home Depot and buy a new one? Look through the equipment. Stuff happens. So what are we doing to protect our butts and documenting it in the event that there's a workers' comp or, some sort of disability claim? And most importantly, really, ensuring the safety of the people that are working with and around you. Lastly, safety training. We ensure that all workers have received adequate safety training and understand the safety protocols specific to the installation of impact windows and doors. A perfect example. We're starting a project tomorrow in Longboat Key. It's 2 12-story towers. It's 135 windows and about 4 sets of sliding glass doors. And tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we have a 1.5-hour training session with United Rentals, whom we rented the scaffold, the swing stage, and the mast climber from, on the proper use of the equipment and things to look out for if the equipment feels as if it's going to fail. All the technicians are there. All the superintendents are there. The property manager suggested he would like to be there. The engineer of record for the property, who's also the special inspector, suggested he wanted to be there, right? Because he's going to be riding that equipment throughout the days while he's doing his inspections. So he wants to make sure that he's working on safe equipment. So now that's pre-installation. Let's talk about during the installation. PPE equipment, ensuring that all the workers wear proper equipment. Gloves, harnesses, rope grabs, hard hats, safety glasses, closed-toe shoes, so guards on their grinders and their equipment. Anything you can so that when and if there's an accident, they're prepared to come out on the right side of that accident, let's say. Teach them safe handling of materials and tools. Use proper lifting techniques and handling procedures to prevent injuries. Make sure tools are in good condition and used correctly. Here's a really poor example. Ground floor unit, old windows. Technician A is inside the unit. Technician B is outside the unit because the windows get presented from the outside in, and then when we have to remove them, we unscrew them from the inside and they get pushed to the outside so we don't damage any of the interior finishes. What happens? Piece of glass breaks. In original, let's say, windows, prior to them being replaced with impact glass, they either have annealed or tempered glass. Annealed glass is basically single pane glass. Tempered glass is safety glass. So we're not as worried about that. But contractor takes the window, bangs the frame, tries to get it out of the opening, accidentally hits the frame in a weak part, glass breaks. All right, no big deal. Clean up the glass. Contractor inside hands the hammer to the technician on the outside. Timing was not in his favor. A piece of the glass that was dangling falls, cuts him on his forearm. Hospital visit. Big, big, big accident. Because why? It was easier to hand the hammer through an area of broken glass than it was to tell that individual outside, hey, go grab a hammer. So proper techniques, simple things. Securing the work area, using barrier signage to secure the work area and keep residents and other non-essential personnel away from the installation site. What did I tell you? I told you that people are curious. They want to know what's going on. They want to see what type of material you're using. They want to come to your staging area and they want to look inside and see what kind of screws you have and what kind of caulking you're using. And if you're using Bounty paper towel or if you're using Kirkland brand. People are curious. So putting up signs, barricades, caution tape, cones, even gates or fences, try to keep people out of those work areas as best as possible. After the installation, final inspections are conducted both by the building department and by the contractor. That ensures that all work has been completed to the required standards and the work was completed and the property is left in a safe manner. Cleaning up and debris removal. Simple. Ensure all your debris and waste materials are properly disposed of to prevent hazard. Remove the old windows. If for whatever reason there's no swing stage on the outside or no mast climber or crane, how else are we going to get the old windows down? We're going to have to go through the hallways and go into the service elevator. The last thing you want to do is see, as a property manager, board member, or member of the association, a cart in the hallway with old windows and doors on it and sharp metal and rust. Why? Because somebody's going to bump into it and everybody's going to get sued. So take the material out of the unit if need be and take it directly to the service elevator. Don't leave stuff laying around. Lastly, verifying compliance with safety standards, checking that the installation meets all relevant safety standards and building codes. So here's a big one, communication and coordination. What did I talk about in the beginning was having town hall meetings throughout a project, before a project and after a project. If you communicate safety protocols through the contractor, to the project manager, to the association, to the members, you are going to reduce questions being asked, accidents happening, people walking in places that they shouldn't. Regularly reviewing safety practices with the installation team themselves is very important as well, because contractors, they forget. As silly as it sounds, they are having a bad day and they hand that hammer through that window that had a little shard of glass because, their kid was giving them a hard time on the way to school and they just were thinking about that and they cut their arm. So having these conversations with your own team internally is really important. Coordinating with residents to minimize disruptions. Residents should be informed about the installation schedule and any potential disruptions. Where are we working? We're working on the 05 stack and there's a parking area or there's pickleball courts under the 05 stack. So what does that mean? That area has to be shut down and it's going to be disrupted. Those cars are going to have to be moved. That pickleball game is going to have to wait until that drop is done. So having good communication minimizes the disruptions and people can plan accordingly for it. Documentation and reporting procedures for safety incidences. You got to establish procedures for documenting and reporting. If anything happens, you got to have communication with the property manager. You may be in communication with your insurance company or a comp claim. Someone goes to the ER, right? That kind of stuff. Maybe your attorney. You should be documenting all of that as it goes on because God forbid something really serious happened to an individual on a job site, whether they work for you or not. likely they're going to hire an attorney on contingency to sue everybody. So documentation is super important. So in a nutshell, the role of the community association manager, in a nutshell, my answer to you is as follows. You community association managers are not the general contractor. I repeat, you are not the general contractor. Now I direct this same message to the board members on this Zoom chat. Your CAM, your community association manager, is not the general contractor. It is so important to understand that the property manager has so much on their plate already to do. The last thing they need to do is become the GC or the project manager. That is not what they are there to do. They're there to do the things that they probably can't even get done in a day that they're being asked to get done. So it's going to take away from all of that. So the role of the community association manager can simply be a facilitator and or a communicator. The responsibilities of a community association manager in overseeing installation projects, I don't believe in it, but overseeing the installation process to ensure compliance with safety protocols and building codes, that's not the manager's responsibility. Coordinating between contractors, residents, and other stakeholders to facilitate smooth project execution, that's not their responsibility. That responsibility is for the project manager. Now, the CAM may need to get involved by providing contact info to the unit owners so that the project manager can reach out to them for access, for what have you. But the point of this slide here is to establish the fact that the manager has a job to do, and it's not to run a project at your building by any means. So you're welcome, all of you CAMs that are out there. And I'm sorry, all of you board members, with a little reality potential check here. It's very important that you hire a project manager or an owner's rep to take on these duties. They do charge a fee. They're the quarterback of that team, and they are the ones that are going to facilitate and execute a smooth project. Best practices for managing contractor relationships. Establish clear communication channels and maintain regular contact with contractors. So I do believe that the manager, no different than my 9 a.m. Zoom chat this morning for a project we're working on in Hollandale, should be there for the regularly weekly scheduled meetings. They're getting complaints all the time and emails. They want to share that information with us and the project manager and all of the contractors that are working on that site. Also setting expectation for performance and safety standards. They want to know, what should we expect when Mrs. Smith walks downstairs in her nightgown because we just told her that she needs to leave her bedroom because we're there to do her windows and doors today. So if the manager knows how to answer that by the contractor or project manager communicating that to them, they'll be in a much better place and have an answer right away. Ensuring ongoing safety and compliance. We conduct regular safety audits and inspections. We're happy to share them with the community association manager. They should put them in a file, project file, store them away. God forbid someone gets hurt. And obviously keep them updated on changes in code change, building code change, safety regulations. Hey, we want to let you know that in that location, you didn't need overhead protection for the swing stages because it wasn't a high traffic area and we had it blocked off with cones, signage, caution tape, what have you. But guess what? On the other side of the building where the pool is, the building code requires that we do something different there. So this is what we're going to have to do there. So if we could keep them informed and educated, it's going to allow them to communicate and set the expectation up to the residents with enough time for them to plan on it.
Ben, really quick. Oh, here we are.
That's what I got. Yeah.
So yes, Peggy had her hand raised. So I want to go
Peggy.
ahead and hear from Peggy really
Yes,
quick.
hi. Good morning again, everyone. I just want to reiterate what you were speaking on, Ben, about don't expect your property manager to be a project manager. And I just want to correlate it to like going to a vet to get heart surgery. Okay. It's completely different. You're in the same health field in a way, but it's not the same. And I cannot tell you how many times uh, people have the expectation, even if it's a small project, because like Ben's saying, safety is just at the utmost to prevent liability. So I would just highly recommend you reconsider expecting your property manager, even if they have 30 years experience, they still are not trained to be a general contractor. They're not licensed to be a general contractor. They're not licensed to be even a project manager unless they take the licensed project manager course, which is out there and available, but it takes about a year to get. So hats off to the ones that get it. But when you're paying your property manager, you're not paying them to be a project manager because there's so many variables. They're not engineers, and it's just so unsafe for your community and for your project because they might not notice something that needs to be noticed by a project manager with a lot of experience. So I just want to, heavily reiterate that as a former business developer for a large or sizable property management company. I cannot tell you how many times this came up because, they're like, oh, we're going to select your company to manage or not. And not selecting our company was because possibly we wouldn't let our managers be project managers because the company didn't insure them as well for any liabilities. So, again, what Ben was saying is so important. Respect your project manager position that you're going to hire someone to take over that, such as United Professional Engineering. You can speak to that, Siobhan. That is part of their services. And one of the reasons, because their president is one of the most respected engineers in the state of Florida, and the current past president for 2025 for the Florida, what is it?
FSEA, the Florida Structural Engineers Association. Yes.
Exactly. So you want to hire somebody with some experience and be your eyes. But as a manager, of course, you're on, if you are, or board members, the expectation is to call those meetings, keep the calendar running, make sure they have those weekly meetings, make sure the community is involved from the standpoint of putting it on your website, which is where Vinteum comes in, and posting those minutes so that everybody knows what is going on. And that's what happens. A lot of times there's no communication. And I experienced this at the same time from working for the management company. No communication creates a lot of accidents. And, Ben, you spoke to that very professionally and proficiently, but post the minutes from all the meetings, have the meetings regularly, and let your manager manage that part of it. And then let them, like Ben says, manage your community. They've just got too much to do besides managing a project. So
I just want to add. I just want to piggyback on to that before Siobhan mentions, that she and her company do that.
Go ahead.
Owners reps. This whole concept of having an owner's rep or a project manager, I'm not sure too many of you guys know this. They do not require to be licensed. Okay.
Good point.
Tom, Dick, and Harry that have a little man cave next door, let's say here, can all of a sudden pick up and say, there's a lot of contractors in this area. We're going to go promote that we are project managers and they should bring us to the table. They do not know one iota about construction or how to manage. They just know that there's a ton of money to be made in doing it. So I want people to understand someone like Siobhan's company, not only are they licensed engineers, that not only do they provide project management or owner's representation, but it's by licensed engineered people. So again, anyone can be a project manager. They don't have E&O insurance. Shit hits the fan, they have no skin in the game. hire someone that costs a little bit more money, that's an engineer like Siobhan's company, that has insurance for when, the contractor disappears and the architect disappears. Who's the last person left in there? The engineer. Well, okay, then they're the ones that are going to have to come to the table and fix this thing. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, I just would also like to piggyback on that real quick, is that maybe there are some owners rep companies out there that are responsible, and the only way they're responsible is if they have a staff engineer, someone on their team, not subbed out to somebody else that has 10 different projects going on. They are not solely devoted to your project, and they are not engineers. Just don't hire them, because what Ben said is absolutely correct. So with that, I'll turn it over to the engineering company.
This is great conversation. Ben, I want to point out really quick, and I'm going to show everyone on here. I wrote this down because it really stuck out to me. The high level education. At the beginning of Ben's presentation, he mentioned that what they do very well, and that they put emphasis on high value education. And I think that resonates deeply with me and our firm and what we believe and what we do, because for this exact reason, for this conversation, and how often, I mean, weekly, daily, these questions get brought up by the CAMs that are out there, by the board members who simply don't know what they don't know. And to your point is, yes, and as I'm hearing you, and it's just reminding me of the stories that I hear in the conversations that I get to have, that the reason why in our engineering services specifically we include construction administration. It's in our contract. It's not something that we say, that we advertise. It is black and white. It is tried and true. It is signed. It is signed and sealed. And so we stand by that. And you know what I value, and I got to hear this straight from our president and owner while we were at a proposal consultation with an association last year, who actually just signed last week while I was on vacation. So that's exciting. But anyway, they had a lot of questions around this topic, and I got to hear our owner's heart. And this has been part of his procedure for 20 years. Not because, like what Ben said, Tom, Dick, and Harry decided that they saw an opportunity to make bank and they want to capitalize on a gap that the industry has presented. Us here at United Professional Engineering, this has been our system and procedure and how we serve our clients start to finish consistently for 20 years. And so back to the education piece and why you all are here on these webinars and get to listen and learn from professionals like Ben and Peggy, who have worked so hard to put this together, and through grit and time and experience be able to provide these solutions for you, is that our heart is integrity, safety, and compliance, and doing your due diligence in high level education. That way, as Ben said earlier, you're able to make the best informed decisions. When I hear people say that they hired an engineer without interviewing them, I just don't even it's like going to have brain surgery without meeting the surgeon. So take your time, like interview your vendors, get references, have conversations, meet with them. And if they're not willing to meet with you in person, or at least via Zoom, and go out to see you and touch you in the association and be like, okay, this is what we have going on, this is how we can help, or even point you in a different way. You have a professional who can say, hey, listen, this is XYZ. I recommend ABC. Most trusted, reputable professionals will do that for you. So proud of all of you for being on here. Board members, CAMs, do your due diligence. And I found this to be very impactful. I just love these webinars.
And we love you.
Siobhan, you want to go to the Q&A? I see a few.
Yeah. I'm looking here. So we have some questions. It says, is there new law saying doors and windows are the responsibility for Florida? I think that's supposed to be co-ops. COOPS.
I'll honestly say I don't know that answer. I would always say, whatever the docs, refer back to the docs.
And your attorney, excuse me.
And your attorney for sure. I don't know about the co-op piece, so I apologize. I can look into it and get you an answer, or I'm sure Siobhan can ask her team over there that may know that a little bit better. But when it comes to a condo, it's in black and white in the condos docs whose responsibility it is, and it becomes actually, this is a whole nother class, but it becomes a hot point because I'm doing a concrete restoration project and the building is responsible for it. But in order for them to do it properly, they need to remove my sliding glass door to get underneath it to fix the concrete that's falling underneath the sliding glass door track. They're telling me I'm responsible for the sliding glass door because I'm responsible for the maintenance, care, and what have you of my windows and my doors. Well, you have to do the concrete work, but you're making me pay for a new sliding glass door, and it's a whole nother topic of conversation as to how that plays out. So interesting, for another day.
For another day, yeah. And we have these recorded in the chat too, so we'll be able to circle back to them. Another question says, codes change, but if it is impact, does this grandfather that product still okay?
So what I would say is as follows. I would say the rule of thumb is 2004. So if you have an impact window and door that is installed with a permit and a past inspection going back to 2004, that is grandfathered in. That said, anytime you make a structural alteration, which is the removal and installation of a window or door, that window and door technically needs to be brought up to the current building code. So example, we did some work here in Williams Island. And in Williams Island, they had first generation impact glass. And it was about 2003, and some of it was installed in 2004 with permits. When the concrete restoration was going on, they were advised that they needed to bring those windows and doors up to code in the areas where the concrete restoration was going on, because the window and door needed to be removed. Restoration, waterproofing, window and door goes back in the hole. Not only did the engineer recommend it, the building department recommended it because the documentation that they had from 2003 was no longer valid. And here's a big one. The insurance company told them they will only insure them if their windows and doors are brought up to the current code because they were structurally altered during the project.
There's that. It's so interesting to have these conversations and these questions. Let's see what's next. Oh, can you tell us, I think is what they meant to say, can you tell us what type of glass you use for your windows and your materials and films on your glass?
Okay, good question. So the most common window frame is metal, which is aluminum. It's painted aluminum or it's anodized aluminum. There's different warranties for different paint quality and for the anodizing process if that's what's desired. The next type of window or door you'll see, and you'll see it a lot more as you travel up the state and you get out of the Port St. Lucie, Vero kind of area, you'll start seeing more and more vinyl framed windows and doors. People buy vinyl because they are more energy efficient than aluminum products are. Aluminum is a conductor of heat. Vinyl has multiple chambers within the frame, so it reduces the amount of heat coming in and out. Additionally, like I said, as you travel further north, you also have more drastic climate change where you'll have cooler months than you will here in South Florida. In South Florida, primarily, it's always warm. Is it beautiful this morning at 65? Sure, but it's warm. You're gonna have in Gainesville and places like that, you're gonna have 30s and 40s. So it's also a good insulator for heat, vinyl frame products. So you have aluminum and vinyl. Aluminum is the most common. They've been around forever. They've been through hurricanes, tested, true and true again. As far as glass, you have two different types of impact glass. You have what's called monolithic impact glass. Mono is one. So you have two pieces of glass with a film in the middle. It gets heated up in an autoclave at hundreds and hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit, takes it all together, creates one unit of glass, goes into the frame. That is what the front windshield of an automobile is as well. So if you think about that for a second, back in the day when people used to steal car stereos and stuff, where you'd see in the movies, the bad guy would always go in through the side window. He'd never break the front windshield. Why? Because you can't get through it. So that's why impact glass is really, really good. Prevents you from the storms, prevents you from forced entry, people that want to break in, stuff like that, right? So that's monolithic laminated glass. That's the most common. That's been around forever. That's in the majority of windows and doors. Again, as you travel further north and maybe a little bit further west, Fort Myers, Sarasota, Bradenton, you might start seeing what's called insulated laminated glass. What that means is it's energy efficient impact glass. So you have your same monolithic system that I described. You have a gap of airspace that's typically filled with argon gas, and then you have a single pane layer to complete this trifecta of energy efficient glass. The downside to it is that in 99% of impact windows and doors that have insulated impact glass, the sacrificial non-impact piece is on the outside. So it's towards the street. So you sit back and you say, well, why would non-impact glass be on the outside? Well, the reason is because when that glass breaks, the inside section, which is the monolithic, the impact piece, will protect anything from going through it. Flip to the other way, if that non-impact piece was inside your home and you had a bunch of silly little kids throwing a ball in the house and it hit the non-impact piece of glass, that glass is going to shatter all over your home. So the theory behind it by the manufacturers is that non-impact piece be on the outside. So aluminum most common, vinyl next most common as far as frames go. Of course, there is wood, very high-end, very expensive, custom stuff. There is some fiberglass stuff out there, but aluminum and vinyl are the biggest. And then monolithic glass, laminated, or insulated, laminated are your two most common types of glass. The laminate, I see this question, the laminate is made of one or two different things. Either something called PVB, which is polyvinyl butyl, which is a very flexible interlayer. And then there's one called SGP, Century Glass Plus. It's a very hard interlayer. It typically is for larger pieces of glass, and it achieves a much higher specification or rating when they are tested and certified.
Man.
Siobhan, I'm blowing your mind, right?
Check that out. I'm like, whoa. I'm so glad this is recorded. Actually, better yet, I'm glad I have your contact information. Glad I have your phone number. It's a good contact to have. No, this is great. Listen, what other questions do you all have? I'm looking here in the question and answer. I'm thinking that's the last one that I see here. I
got one that says, Ben, do you have doors that open from inside auto and from the outside open with some kind of fob or something else? Yes. So there's automated sliding glass door systems, right? Condo lobby of a building, Walgreens, Publix, sliding glass doors. And then there are swing doors, in and out. Doors can swing out, most common. Doors do push in. They're a lot weaker than the ones that swing out. Why? Because it's a lot easier for the big bad wolf to come and puff and blow your house down than it is for him to pull it out. Okay? Now, when you have the auto sliding glass doors, they come with sensors, they come with motor, it's fully automated. When you have swing doors in or out, we partner with different manufacturers to attach, or as an add-on to an impact window and door system, to add on an automated operator or an auto arm. So you can fob in, you can fob out. They can be fully automated, like we do assisted living facilities. During the daytime, you approach the door opens, double door, you walk in, it closes behind you, it won't close and hit you because there's safety sensors on it. Same thing when you walk out. It opens before you get to it, you walk out, you're done. Now, after hours, when security decides that after hours starts at 9 p.m., whatever it is, there is a switch that you can put to, one way or to only be able to receive a fob in, a card reader in, or a release from the front desk where it would be a buzzer. So, of course, there's lots of different options as far as a fob system or access control with impact windows and doors.
Nice.
Siobhan, I have one for you.
Oh.
What areas of Florida does UPE cover?
Oh, great. Yes. We serve St. Lucie County to Miami. So that's where we're at right now.
That was
St. Lucie to Miami.
Question in the chat, in the Q&A.
Oh, yes, I see it. I see it. Yeah, that's where we serve. I'll reply there. Okay, regarding what you were just talking about. So, like, is there a system where, like, my sliding glass door can let my dog out while I'm at work and I don't have to be there? Like, can I be like, hey, Siri, open the sliding glass door so Milo can go out?
So, oddly enough, I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure, and here's why. Oddly enough, there is a so the sliding glass door manufacturers are the manufacturers. They're tested, they're certified. There is a bell and whistle that you can add third party to make them automated. So if you're in your home, you can press a button and the doors will open up like however you want them to open up instead of pulling them and pulling them and pulling them or pushing them. I got to imagine that if I could do that by pressing a button in my house, I could also do it remotely. I got to imagine that. So, yeah, sure. I mean, you can do it by pressing a button and then everything will open. Can you talk to it? I got to imagine there's a technology that allows it.
Very good. That was for fun. Thanks, Ben. Although I have been wondering that. Let's see. I hear thank you, Ben. There's a lot required with the door to meet. Is there a required width of door to meet with standard codes?
So I think that what that question has to do with, it might have to deal with ADA compliance. So thank you, Ben. Is there a required width of door to meet standard code? So standard code, if you want to go by, it's called like clear day. So daylight opening, meaning once the door is open, how much accessible space is there once, clearance is there? You'd have to check with your engineer here, who's on this chat as well, about your specific location. But yes, and I see there was a typo where they wrote with. Yeah, there is. You have to be able, unless it's a grandfathered in property, you have to be able to get egress. You have to be able to get a wheelchair or a gurney through that opening in the event of an emergency.
These are great questions. Let's see.
But different occupancies, have different requirements. So, your local hair cutter, which I just went to this morning, may be different than the hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very good. I think that's it for us in the chat here.
Cool.
Excuse me, in the question and answer. Yeah, that's what I see here.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. This was great.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you, Siobhan, for supporting me, and Peggy for including me.
Absolutely, and thank you both from myself as well. I do want to close this out by mentioning one of our sponsors, Faster.io, Bob Aleka, the Vice President for Community Services. If we could just have 1 minute of silence for his wife. Apparently she has lung cancer, had surgery, and please keep her in our prayers. And Bob, I do want to mention also that next week, Daniel Baum, who was on earlier today from COA Solutions, introducing himself on March 31st, has his own new first insurance class. So it will be his debut. And I hope y'all can join us for that class. It will be a morning class, and the flyer will go out this afternoon. Also, I will send out a sponsor sheet to everyone for the webinar and the recording link. And I want to say thank you to Vinteum one more time. And have a great week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.